Welcome to the Wellness League podcast with your host Ella, and today my friend is Mikayla Mercer. Mikayla was a swimmer representing her country at the Uni Games, but after COVID turned into a triathlete. Her story is quite remarkable. So, shall we dive in? Alrighty, let's get started. So firstly, who are you?
My name's Mikayla, and I am technically a swimmer, but I just recently turned into a triathlete, after COVID.
Welcome to the dark
I'm a good swimmer, but I'm trying to learn how to ride a bike and run.
So, what's your earliest memory of being fit?
I think this one was difficult because I think that I was always brought up to be active. Like, my parents were always putting me into sports in a different sport each term during school. So I did a lot of netball, a lot of swimming, being in Queensland. And yeah, I just kind of was always trying to get the days off to go to athletics carnivals and swimming carnivals. So I kind of just nominated for everything and was like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll give that a go. I'll do it. Be all
That's
good.
honestly such a common trend with triathletes or people that I've interviewed. Everybody has said the same, but honestly, I was exactly the same. Like, anytime I could get out of school, just get through the trial and just so you can go and compete, I was there.
That's what I thought. I thought, oh yeah, I've never really done softball before, but it's 3 days off in the term, so I'll do softball. Be good fun.
Softball's so fun though. I reckon I played that in primary school, for the school team. And there's nothing
oh really
running from me. It's not very big sport
yeah
here,
I just remember doing it and being like, I really hope that I can hit a ball because I've never done this.
It's like tennis but with a round bat.
Yeah, literally.
And then just gotta smack it really hard. And so
yeah, or try to.
So being super fit, when did you get into your swimming?
I'd say swimming was always I was always swimming. I got to probably age 9 probably, and I did my first school carnival and won probably a few of those races. And then my parents were like, oh, we should try and see if you can swim competitively. And so I joined a little swim club, one of those Friday night swim clubs, and did some of those, and then kind of started training at that swim club just once or twice a week before the Friday nights to try and stay, healthy, I guess, as a child. I was also doing netball, so my coaches as a child did not like hearing about the netball games because there's lots of injuries in netball that are not good for swimming. And then my parents were very big on keeping me out. Swimming is very tough once you get into it, just because you have to train 8-10 times a week. So my parents didn't let me kind of start doing that competitively until I was about 12 or 13. And then I just loved racing. So I would try and go to all the sessions, but my parents were still only 3 or 4 times a week. No, we're not getting up early yet. And then probably around 14, I qualified for nationals, or 13, I qualified for nationals, and then I started training hard. And then, it kind of went from there. And I think by 14, I was winning races and PBing a lot because I hadn't obviously swum much competitions. So it felt nice to be able to drop 6 or 7 seconds each time that I swam a 400 freestyle, which would be nice now.
Yeah, it's crazy. Even when we had Travis on the pod, he was saying how those seconds can literally be the difference between the first and the last person. It's crazy how such small time can make a big difference over that kind of distance.
Yeah, I remember swimming, maybe it was a 200 freestyle, and it would have been a 200 freestyle, and I think the first place in the heats was maybe 155, and then 30th was still a 201 or 202, so it was not that big of a drop. Yeah,
that's crazy. When you're a kid and you're swimming a lot, what was your get out the pool snack? You know how you always have a good snack it's like a
Ah,
tradition kind of thing.
yeah, I really liked I think my dad made it. It was like sustagen with honey and milk and like Milo in it. And he'd always bring that to the pool. And I think he told me recently that he was also putting like an egg in it or something, like something weird. But I just remember it being like chocolate milk and it was good. And it was like after swimming, so refreshing and nice and cold,
Yeah.
very healthy, but still tasted good.
Oh, funny. It's so funny. Like swimming makes you so hungry. Like after a good session, all you can think about is having a good snack.
Yeah, even now, like swimming, I swim now like 2 or 3 kilometers a session, and I still get out. I'm like, I'm so hungry, but I could run for an hour and a half, and I would be, I'm not eating.
Yeah, crazy. Hey, pity like swimming, you can't take on nutrition while you're doing that other than when you stop in between sets. It's not like running when you can just pop a gel in.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. I like have a bag of lollies on the side of the pool sometimes. I'm like, oh, just sneak one of these, thank you.
That's a very smart idea. Maybe I need to bring that into our group.
Yeah,
So
they do get
from
slimy though. So just
so from swimming at a young age, where did you go from like your 14, 15-year old? So you got to nationals and then what happened?
um, when I was 14, I won, I think, the 400 freestyle at age nationals, which was I won it by like I think 0.02 of a second or something
Ooh.
ridiculous like that. Like it was a touch. Um, and then I kind of started training like really hard because I wanted to then do that again next year. So I qualified again, and then in 2015, one of the girls, Chelsea Gubecker, she's now I think qualified for the Olympics in the 10 kilometer. She was swimming the 800 freestyle, which I was also swimming, and she'd qualified for World Juniors, but she'd also qualified for Worlds. So she withdrew from World Juniors, and then I kind of got the reserve call up to go compete in her spot, which was super cool because I got to travel. So that was in Singapore, and then after that I came back, and then yeah, like every year from there I was like making teams and getting to go to like cool places. I think I went to Hawaii in 2016.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, it was kind of a bit of motivation to like go swimming if I didn't really want to go. It would be like, oh, well, maybe you'll get to go to China this year or go to Japan this year. So yeah, it was a little bit of extra motivation.
Had you moved clubs when you started going a bit more professional in this kind of level?
Yeah, so probably I started training with Chandler Swimming Club when I was 12, but I wasn't really going to all their sessions. I was just going like twice there, twice still to the little local swim club. And then I started training like full time with Chandler, and the coach there was really good, very technical based. So I learned a lot of technique, which was super helpful for because I never got any injuries, so it was obviously a blessing.
Yeah.
And then I was still swimming under him up until I was like 16, 17, and then I kind of moved up into the next squad and kept training at Chandler. And then probably when I was about 19, just there was no one really there swimming open water, and I was kind of doing a bit of pool swimming, a bit of open water. And the guys that I was training with were more like 100, 200, 400 swimmers, and I was focusing more on like the 1500 and 5K. So I ended up moving to Nudgee College with a coach called David, and he was yeah, great. He was I hadn't PB'd for a long time in the 400 freestyle before I moved to him, and he got me down to I think I ended up swimming like a 3 second PB under him, which was like super cool. But yeah, like swimming, everyone trains the same. Like the sessions don't vary much throughout coaching. It's just how they're delivered, I guess. So yeah, it was very easy
Yeah.
to kind of jump between the coaches. I didn't move as much as what I've seen some people move. Like I think maybe 3 coaches I've had in my entire like swimming career. But yeah, they've all been like super different, but also yeah, the same at the same time.
Are you, were you racing with anybody at the last club that is well known now for training?
I swam when I was at Chandler. I was swimming with there. We had a really good squad, so we had David McKeon, Emma McKeon, Georgia Bowl, Jessica Ashwood, who I love training with. So she was another distance girl, and she was very strong minded, and she had her scoliosis issues when she was swimming, and she still kept swimming. Was like a phenomenal swimmer. So I think that was definitely like a really good squad. So then when I moved to Nudgee, it had kind of changed to be I was swimming with junior athletes coming through. So there's one boy that I was swimming with at Chandler called Tom Raymond, and he's a open water swimmer. So he's just on the border at the moment of making senior teams, but he's still so young. So it'll be really cool to see how he goes over the next like few years as he grows up and gets a bit more, boys, they're a little bit behind their development in comparison to the girls. So I think his time's still to come. So that'll probably be really cool to watch.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot in swimming that the females develop a lot faster at a younger age before the guys kind of catch up when they get into like the late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, I remember someone telling me that like girls and boys are very equal. Like they can swim the same times up until they're about 13, and then the next year, like the girls are nowhere to be seen, and the boys are, swimming these awesome times, and you're like, it's just unfair.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And so what's the furthest you got with your swimming to nationals and obviously traveling around the world? And then did you
um,
get into uh, did you say you you were on the team to qualify for the Com Games?
okay, so I did a lot. I qualified for a lot of junior teams for Swimming Australia, and then I just missed the 2018 qualifying. I got 4th, and they took top 3 to swim, so that was a bit disappointing. But that same year, I ended up going to swim at a World Cup for open water. So I think I ended up 13th at that World Cup. So that was like still
Wow.
really cool. Just a different thing than what I thought I was going to get, which is fine. And then I made like a world university team in 2019, which we went to Italy, and that was really cool. Like world unis is, I don't think it doesn't get talked about as much as what Olympics and Commonwealth Games does, but it's like, I think the second biggest multi-sport event. So
Yeah, I've
it's
heard
like the
about this.
Olympics, but yeah, it's like the Olympics, but you have to be at university and studying to be
Mm.
able to qualify. So that was cool. And
One of
then
the guys we had on
COVID.
earlier in maybe I think it was season one, Nathan, he went to the World Uni Games in Italy as well, but this was like maybe 15 years ago, but he went for water polo and he said the whole experience is insane. Like it's almost better than a Com Games.
Yeah, I think everyone that I've spoken to has said that that has done both. They said that World Unis was like crazy. Like it was just crazy to see the security and like the logistical side of things. Like it's just like crazy. Like you think, oh, you just have to turn up to race, but you think about you have to leave like an hour before you want to be there because it's going to take so long to get through security. You need your bags checked. You need to like get through all these like different countries traveling to the same event. So yeah, it was wild, but I'm super glad that I went to that. And because originally I wasn't even going to go to it. And then my coach David, I just moved to him. He said, I think you should go. And then, yeah, we both went. And yeah, it was great. It was probably one of the best experiences I had with swimming.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
were you
so
competing in?
super cool.
What events did you compete in at that?
So I swam the 200 freestyle, 400 freestyle, and then I swam in the 4x200 freestyle relay, and then
Yeah.
the 4x100 freestyle relay, which I don't know how I qualified for that, but I did, and I think we ended up sixth in both the relays, and I think I may have gotten either fifth or sixth. I can't quite remember in the 400 freestyle. So we got to do a lot of heats and final swimming, which was fun. I think that's probably
Yeah,
the part about swimming that's like the best is you get to turn up in the morning and then come back and try and do better in the afternoon.
yeah, yeah. That sounds like so much fun though. To be able to even go that far and know that you're competing for your country.
Yeah. Um, I really liked the pressure of having uh like the uniform on and everything because I think it was like quite a privilege to be able to do that. But with the relays, I really enjoyed like swimming with the other girls because I just found that it was more fun and you got to speak with others in the marshalling room and you weren't competing against them, you were competing with them. So it was just a
Yeah.
different sort of vibe. Like you weren't competitors, you're like teammates.
What do you find the difference in between doing like pool swims and then turning so like pool racing and then your open water racing? Obviously, the difference major being that you can't turn every 25 or 50 meters.
Yeah. Can't have a break is my
True.
biggest thing that I find is I get out there and I go, oh my goodness, this is taking forever. The I think the hardest thing is having people in your space. Like it's just, you're trying to think about swimming with good technique, and then all of a sudden these people are swimming over the top of you, and you're like dropping elbows, and you're like, just get away from me! I'm just trying to swim my freestyle. Goodness me.
How did you find the difference in training for both of them as well?
The training for the 10K and the 5K was similar to training for the 400, but also like very different. So in the mornings, when I was doing like an open water block, I'd swim 10 to 12 kilometers in the morning, but very easy swimming. And then in the night, we'd do like maybe 6 kilometers, but it would be like heart rate and like shorter, sharper stuff just to kind of get the sprint finish and the start of the 10K. But then the pool swimming, it'd be easy swims in the morning, but a lot shorter. So maybe our like distance set would be like 7 or 8 kilometers rather than 10 to 12. But the sets that we were doing in the afternoon, our quality sets was all very similar. So a lot of 50 efforts and a lot of hundreds holding like threshold sort of pace and then having to do like 450s at like 200 pace or better at the end, which stings. And it's always like you always feel like the your stomach kind of like drop and you're just like, oh, this is not fun, but has to be done because when you're out there swimming for 10 kilometers, you're not going to feel good at the end, regardless of how slow you've swum or how easy you've swum.
Yeah. God, 10 kilometers is quite a fair distance. Isn't that classed as like the marathon of swimming?
Yeah, I think so. But they do
Yeah.
at Worlds they don't do it for the Olympics. At Worlds they do the 25K, so I don't even know how to train for that. It's not something that I thought about swimming, and it's not something that I think that I will ever swim, just because I don't want to, and it's a lot of swimming.
Yeah. God, thinking about 10K, like that's hard enough to run, let alone in a pool. But how long does
Yeah,
like
I
a
often
10K
think
roughly
that.
take?
I think the girls are probably just under 2 hours.
Jeez,
In the
that's
ocean,
really fast.
it might, yeah, yeah, it's very quick. I think about it now and I just think, oh my God, like, how did I do that? Um, and the boys, I think they might be about 1 hour 50, 1 hour 45 on their like quick course days.
That's yeah, crazy. I didn't think it was going to be anywhere near that quick.
I, when I started, I got told that like the boys and girls will swim roughly like the same pace, but the boys are nicer to each other and the girls are more just from the start it's a race, whereas the boys kind of make it last like a very easy swim until like the last 2 kilometers and then they kind of put the pace in. So
So in
it's
the
I guess different for
yeah, the difference as well, is there much of a difference in like the stroke rate between doing a shorter distance and those longer distances? Like do you put like kind of glide a little
um
bit further in a open water rather than in a short?
yeah, so I swam my 400s, I'd swim at about, I think on the tempo it would be about 90, like strokes per minute, for my 400 freestyle. And then for like the 10K, when I was training for that, I'd, have that be about, I think 56 to 60 was the goal, which I really struggled with, when I'd come from like pool swimming to go to open water, just because it's so slow compared to like what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got used to kind of swimming a bit more catch up, so my hands would kind of touch each other like as I'm swimming, and then towards the end of the race, I'd up my stroke rate to be closer to that like 90 to 100 strokes per minute, and then hope that I could be able to hold that.
Yeah, that's crazy. What would you give like somebody tips from going? So like we talk about this a lot in triathlon. You having to do like a lot of open water training, obviously, because most of the big races are in open water. But tips from transitioning from a pool to the open water.
I would always say with swimming in the open water that the biggest challenge is the breathing, because I find that people, as soon as they get into the water, it's cold and they've just come from a run where you're standing upright and you dive in, and the like first reaction is to like panic and like tighten up your shoulders and tighten up your breathing. But yeah, like as if you can control the breathing and control like just thinking, oh, I just need to keep like focused like inward rather than outward, I find it very, I don't want to say easy, but it's a lot easier to then, think about like, oh, where's the next boy, or like who's around me and what do I need to do now? Because once you panic in open water, everything else just becomes like a blur, and you're like, oh, I just need to like get to the end of this race. And yeah, it's just a disaster, really. I've been there. Everyone's been there. So
Oh, of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's alert skill.
How do you go about swimming through waves? What's the best way to get through that? Because I just can't get my head around. About to start open water training, obviously, because I signed up for a half Ironman in December. But yeah, the waves have always freaked me out. Like I love being out in the ocean, but as soon as you get swimming and you get smacked by one, it like puts me all out.
Yeah, I always practice in the pool, my duck diving, which I don't think my coach appreciates, but I do it anyway. Um, and so I'll practice like, siding, and then I'll, like duck under, either down to the bottom if it's, shallow enough. Otherwise, I found in Noosa, because the waves are like, they're definitely coming at your face, but they're not, like super big, and where you have to dive down to the bottom and like hold on so that you're not going to get like into the washing machine, I think they say. um that I dive kind of like the top's coming over, and then I try and dive like underneath so that I get through, but like I
Yeah.
always miss a stroke, so I always like have to maybe do like two single arm strokes to like get myself back up, and then keep swimming. But I find that when I do that, I always drop a few people off my feet, which is nice, to look around and then see that everyone's kind of been like hit by the wave.
Yeah.
But it's something that I practiced a lot. So I did a lot of like ins and outs. So just literally practicing like the dives in a super shallow like area where if it goes wrong, I can just stand up and like be fine. And in the pool, yeah, like it's hard to hold your breath when you're swimming and you're like trying to swim quick and everything's going on, and you just think, oh, like maybe I'll just keep swimming and just stand up and hope. But yeah, it did take me a while. I was not the best. I always like would get in and then yeah, immediately panic. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've practiced it, and it's good. It's a strength.
And swimming in a wetsuit as well, that's obviously a big difference between training in a pool and the open water. What kind of wetsuit are you using? So do you like having the longer arms, or do you prefer to have it cut off with the shoulders so you have that mobility?
I use arms. So the wetsuit that I use is from Valair, which is a company on the Gold Coast, and the way it's designed is for swimmers. So it's quite I don't want to say loose, it's not the right word, but it's free around the shoulders, which is something that I found I didn't like about some of the other wetsuits that I tried, being from swimming, where I didn't have anything on my shoulders or anything around my neck. And I I wouldn't go without it now. Like I love it. I find that like I think the other day I was swimming in the pool and in the wetsuit, like I just got a new one and I was trying it in the pool and I was swimming like maybe 6 or 7 seconds quicker per 100 in
Wow.
the wetsuit. And my coach said to take it off and I did not want to, but I did. And then I felt so slow and yeah, it was nice. I really like the saltwater swims now with the wetsuit just because of the buoyancy. Like I just feel like really speedy and it's
Yeah.
nice not to have to like kick my legs as much.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard a lot of people say the buoyancy like really helps, especially in the salt water.
Yeah, I think the fatigue in swimming is where like everyone starts to lift their head and like their hips drop and the wetsuit kind of you can't drop your hips so you end up being able to swim for much further distances and also quicker. So yeah, I really appreciated that when I came from swimming to triathlon because you don't get that opportunity in swimming. I think the water temp for a swim to be wetsuit is 18 degrees, which is very cold.
Yeah. And so you just mentioned triathlon, and so making the jump over from swimming to triathlon, how did that happen?
uh, it happened during COVID. So obviously I'm not sure what South Australia was like, but Queensland, we weren't allowed to go in any sporting complexes. So uh, from March through till about July, we couldn't access the pool. So we were doing a lot of running. And being swimmers who went to running, we all got injured very quickly. And so a lot of us ended up riding bikes. And I hadn't ridden a bike since I was like 11.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. I liked being able to like I swam for a long time, obviously. So I liked being able to talk to people and like see things as I was like exercising, um, which was very nice. And then, yeah, I think in September I bought my first bike, like first proper bike, um, and entered a triathlon, which was just a local triathlon in at Bribie Island, and it was an experience. It was very, very fun. And yeah, it like we weren't racing at swimming, so I think it was nice to be able to race something, and like whilst training, because I like to train to race. I don't really like just
Yeah.
training to stay fit. So it was nice to have something then to train for and like go back and reflect and improve again because swimming was very difficult at the level that I was at to like drop significant amounts of time. So to go from a beginner to like, getting quicker each time that I was racing, it was very nice. It was a very nice, kind of refreshing, I'd say is probably a better word than nice.
Yeah. And so after that race, is that where you decided that's what you wanted to go ahead with and put the swimming to the side a bit? Obviously, you still needed to train the swimming, but
I think I think I stayed in swimming for another year because I wanted to do Olympic trials in 2021. And so I got through, I was swimming like probably a lot less than what I had been previously. So I didn't really know where I was going to be, how I was going to be swimming, but I ended up swimming really like a lot of PBs that year in 2021, which was unexpected because I was swimming 4 or 5 times a week and we'd just come off this massive break for COVID. But my coach kind of said it's probably the running and cycling has probably helped your fitness and you can focus
yeah.
a lot more on technique in the pool. So you're not getting what we call like garbage miles where we're swimming and our technique's poor and it's just not doing anything for us. So I swam really well. And then after that, like, I was swimming events where Australia is really strong. So I got a time in the 400 that I think ranked me maybe 30th, like globally. But, Australia had like 8 other girls that were also in the top 30. So it was kind of just, oh, good job, but like we don't really have anything much for you to go to this year. So I thought, oh well, I'll give triathlon a go, see what it's like. And then the next year I went over to Europe, and it was like such a great experience. And I thought, oh, there's a big gap here. Um, there's a lot of girls coming through, but we're all very young, so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of develops, because there's not really anyone in between like the current pros than the next generation. So yeah, I think there's a like door of opportunity kind of there. Whereas swimming's a very difficult one to knock down, which is fine, but
Yeah.
yeah,
It's Australia, like everybody loves swimming. But going to
yeah,
Europe,
exactly, and it's very prestige. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Going to Europe, did you qualify for a race over there, or did you just get the idea to go race over there and see what it was like?
So my current coach and my coach at the time, we weren't originally going to go over, but then once everything had kind of opened up a little bit more for international travel, he said it's very worthwhile going, because there's a lot more racing opportunities. Like there's a race on every weekend, whereas in Australia, our season kind of finishes in March, and then there's no real
Yeah,
races until November, which is like Noosa. So we went over, and I learnt so much in those few races because I was so new to the sport. Like it was my first, like second or third race when I went over there. So we did a lot of their local races.
which country were
And
you
uh, pardon,
in? Oh, cool.
I was in Spain, and
Having a
specifically
hot
like
girl
Basque
summer.
Country. Yeah, literally. I think I made a reel that said like hot girl summer, but make it triathlon, and we posted that. And then I stayed there for the whole time that year. And then the next year, 2023, I went over and kind of, I'd been there before, had been able to kind of like get the gist of what was going on. So then I found a lot of other races that I could do that I traveled to on my own, but kept all my stuff in Spain. And it's a lot cheaper once you're over there to travel in between European and African countries than it is from Australia, because we're kind of
Yeah,
isolated. So yeah, it meant I was able to race like for like 6 months more than what I would be able to in Australia.
yeah. Where did you base yourself in Spain? And how did you fund all this? Were you winning races and or were you sponsored?
No, so I worked, and my parents own a company as well. And so I work some for them. I do support work as well. And so uh, that's kind of what I do in Australia. And then overseas, each race has prize money, which is a luxury that we don't really have in Australia. I think
Yeah,
it's because triathlon's not as well known in Australia as it is in Europe. So there's a lot of prize money overseas. So when I went over there, I was able to kind of get some prize money, and then like pay my coach and buy my groceries and everything for the week. So that helped, but getting over there just like was a lot of saving during like Christmas time, which is always difficult.
yeah.
um and yeah, working hard.
Where were you basing yourself in Spain as well?
Oh, sorry, I was North Spain in a place called Vitoria Gasteiz. So it's kind of near San Sebastian, which
Oh yeah.
is a beautiful, beautiful beach. And they have Ironman there as well. So it's a very small town, but the roads are quiet, and there's not a lot of traffic lights or anything like that. So it's very nice for cycling. Um, and the climbing there is like phenomenal. Like there's so many mountains and so many like rides that you can do where you get like 1,000+ meters of elevation, which is not something that happens in Brisbane.
That's nuts. Did you get on the trend of having a 3 p.m. nap as well?
uh yes, a lot more than I do over here. So it actually took a lot of adjusting, because I'd leave like my grocery shopping and all that sort of stuff to do in between training sessions, which was usually about 2 o'clock till like 4 o'clock, which is exactly when like the shops and everything are shut. So um Yeah, it was interesting trying to figure that out because then you've got the other thing where shops stay open till like 10 o'clock at night. So it was kind of finishing training at 7 and then going to go grab your things that you needed. Because the daylight is like crazy in summer. I think the sun rises at like 7 and then it sets at like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night.
So good. Yeah, I was in Spain in winter, so it was like, oh, I think December, yeah, December 2020. But yeah, the same thing, even traveling around
Yeah,
there, like you travel like the first, the morning or whatever, go and chill back in the hotel for an hour or two, then go out to dinner, but everything was, yeah, pushed back in time. But yeah, it was good fun. I've heard a few
it was
of the
very
soccer
nice.
players, like Lucy Bronze talks about living in Spain and how good that afternoon kind of break is.
Yeah, I know we don't have the daylight that they do, but I think it would be nice if Australia was a little bit more European in terms of the relaxed lifestyle that they live.
How'd you go with all the food and everything as well? It is quite different, but so good.
Um, yeah, it was difficult the first year. I found I really liked making the things that I know how to make at home.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot of time to get through like the shops, but once I kind of got over there and I kind of got over my fear of like trying new things, their food in Victoria is so fresh. Like the seafood and like fruit and vegetables is so fresh and like super cheap compared to Australia at the moment as well. So that I am excited to go back and not have to spend like $200 on groceries. But the quality of the food was amazing and like eating out and trying like they have a thing where I'm not sure whether it's everywhere in Spain or definitely or like just Victoria, but it's called like menu of the day. And you like maybe pay like €15 and they'll give you like an entree and a main and a dessert and a drink. And you just go through and pick what you want. Which is cool and like yeah, good quality. You get lot of variety then as well. And I don't really know the language that well, so some of the things I don't really know what I'm ordering, but it's always nice. It's always worked out so far.
Yeah. And big news time. We have a big brand new sponsor for the Wellness League podcast. So, can you guess who it is?
Hi, I'm Lana from Live and Breathe Active or Lab, a small family-run business run by a group of passionate people that, well, we live and breathe this shit. Whether it's run, swim, cycle, or try, we make gear to get you through those tough training sessions. We help you get up before sunrise, and we will still be there with you well after sunset. You will see us before you hear us with bespoke prints designed by artists just for you. We are driven by our values and are focused on performance and community. And we are super proud to be partnering with the Wellness League podcast in the Try series. Find out more or shop online at liveandbreatheactive.com. We can't wait to have you as part of the crew.
How good is that, hey? Discount codes and the link will be in the bio. But you know what? Let's go back to the pod. And so, racing over there, what kind of distance were you racing, or were you just trying to get into every race kind of like possible?
I was able to race anything under like Olympic distance. So I just haven't had the running kilometers in me to be able to do like a half Ironman yet, coming from swimming. So I was racing a lot of sprints and a lot of Olympic distance local races. So the Olympic distance races were cool because in Australia, or it's in Brisbane, I should say, our races are on a short course. So like maybe you have to do like 8 or 9 laps of like a 4 or 5 kilometer course. Over there, the local races were like all draft legal. So no TT bars, no TT bikes or anything. And they were on like a course. So like the bike loop would literally be like a 40-kilometer loop around the town and you wouldn't see the same thing twice, which was super fun, a lot more interesting than just riding like, 10 laps of
Yeah.
like a 4-kilometer course. But the atmosphere there was like insane. So like people will come out of their houses like on top of like climbs and stuff with signs and everything for everyone and like cheer. And then people would be like lining like the streets. So a lot of the races would finish through like a lane or alleyway of like pubs and restaurants, and so people would be like
Oh, this is
lining
so
those
cool.
streets and you'd be running. Yeah, and so it was like an awesome atmosphere. And uh yeah, everyone would start at once. So like that was something that I really liked. So in Australia, we do wave starts, and
Yeah, so do we.
you, yeah, so we're often like looking at like, 5 people on the start line and racing them. And then over there was like 250 girls, and we all just went at once off the beach.
Oh my God.
So like I think that experience like served me really well, because it's never going to be that chaotic like in a race
Did
back
your
home.
open
So
water
yeah.
experience kind of help in that situation?
Oh God, yeah. Like I just panicked so hard in the first race and thought I just need to get out of here so quickly. And so I took off so fast and just like hoped that everyone would stay away from me, because I did not want to get like caught in like a little fight with someone that I didn't really know.
How fun. Did you go to any neighboring countries to race as well?
Yes, last year I ended up going to France, and I did like their national series, which I think is called Le French Grand Prix. I don't know the name in French, and if I did, I'd probably butcher it. But their Grand Prix series is very similar to that, but just the standard is like amazing. So all the athletes like in the world, all the top triathletes are going over there to race, and like it's very similar to, I'd say, AFL and NRL, where everyone's kind of got their team and they're contracted, and then next year they might lose their contract. It depends on,
Oh, wow.
how they perform and everything like that. So that was super cool. And I look forward to doing that again this year.
Are
But
you on
yeah,
a
I think
team
this
for
year
that
it'll
as well?
be a bit different. Yeah, so my team is called Tri Val de Grey, and they've got a lovely like hot pink race suit, which is nice. Um,
And then
and
how
I
many
think we
people
did well. I
per
think we
team?
got fifth overall.
Yeah. So how many people per team are you racing as well?
So we've got 5 per team. So there's 12 teams. I think there's 12 teams. It could be 11, but there's roughly 50 to 60 people on the start line. And then basically like your first 3 across the line count for your points. And then your other 2 are basically just there to kind of push other people back in the rankings so that they get less points. And then it's, I think, the team with the lowest amount of points. So maybe if you get first, fourth, and fifth, you're probably going to win. You've got 10 points. But it also means that, like, if you're racing a team and you don't know where everyone else is finishing, if you're not going to be the top 3, your job's still important. So you still have to finish high enough to kind of push other teams, like players like back, so that they, because it comes down to like 2 or 3 points to decide the winner at each race. So yeah, it's different concept and super cool. I didn't really understand it when I first went over there, because it was difficult to kind of get across like the translation of like why everything was so important and why it was so like integral to set up like a good race plan with your team. So
Did you
yes.
kind of get scouted for this as well?
So I sent a few emails out and I said like, oh, like this is what I do, like I'm a good swimmer. And so one of the girls that was already in the team was also a good swimmer. So they kind of said, yeah, like we'd love to have you because you'd be able to work with Leah, and it makes us look good when we've got people coming out like in the first like 2 or 3 like people out of the water.
Yeah.
And then like ideally it would be nice to be in a little breakaway with like your teammates so that you can really work hard and then make everyone else, their job a little bit difficult.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I think they appreciated the fact that I was able to do that. And then our like runner girls were very strong. So it was always nice to see, like, if you're going to get past, it would be nice to see your own team like pass you.
Yeah, the series, how many races and like how the distance and how long did this kind of go for?
So there's 5 races. starting May and ending in September. So I did 3 of the 5, kind of the middle ones, and then I wasn't overseas for the first one, so I wasn't able to do that one. And then in the final, my team is very strong, so they got all their like top quality like athletes to come through and race in the final. So I was happy to be part of like the first 3. So hopefully this year I'll get to do a bit more. But yeah, we'll see how we race when we get over there.
And then in between the events as well, were you all training together?
No, so in between the races, I would go back to Spain, and then the other girls would kind of stay in France, and they all trained under different coaches. So then we'd come together like for the weekend and, you know, talk about like what we're going to do. Goodness me.
And what was the distance you were racing to?
So all the French Grand Prix are sprint distance.
Oh, cool.
The races, I think they're all pretty much like spot on. All the races are pretty much spot on. So pretty much like 750, 20 kilometers and 5 kilometers.
Yeah.
And it's super speedy. So the bike like goes so fast. I think maybe the fastest one that I did was maybe like 30 minutes. So like 30 minutes, 20 kilometers, like insane speeds. And the courses are all very like spectator friendly. So everyone can come out and like watch. And so we come through and it might be like a street that's so narrow and all the girls are just like trying to use that street as a way to like drop people. And you just got to be like on.
Yeah. And were they all in similar locations as well?
There were 2 lake swims that I did, and then I know that there was the other 3 were beach swims. I did one of the beach swims. But other than that, like the towns were all very similar. So there was the courses were a bit different. There was one that was very technical. And then the other 2 were like just very flat, very fast. Kind of.
Was it in like the south of France as well?
There was one that was in the south of France, which I didn't race in. Then there was one in Metz, which was a really cool, very cool place to be. That we were racing and there was a few riots that were going on. I'm not 100% sure what that was about, but it was the French were saying, "Oh, it's fine, it's fine," and I thought, in Australia we don't get this.
Yeah, when I was in Spain, we had like last minute. I was on a Kentucky trip. And on the way into Barcelona, we managed to get Barcelona versus Madrid tickets. So we're like, oh my God, this is amazing, like the men's football or soccer game. Anyway, we turn up to like the event and there was like people blowing up cars, they were blowing up bins, and we were like, what the hell is happening here? And then the guy, the Kentucky bus driver was like, oh yeah, the people of like Barcelona are like rioting at the moment because they wanted Barcelona to be like its own separate state, because they just felt like everybody in Barcelona does all the work for the rest of the country. And so we got into the gate. So many people we were with got pickpocketed. It was insane. And then once we were in there,
wow.
I reckon halfway through the game, a whole lot of people threw, like, I reckon they were like massive blow up. They were almost like balloons and stuff onto the field. And they literally had to take all the players inside, clean up the field, have like these massive balloons, all because of the riots. And then reset the game. It was crazy. Like, I've actually never feared for my life more going to a game.
Yeah, it's so scary because you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and we were like, it was hectic. Like, when you're seeing bins and cars being blown up like 10 meters away from you, you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, run, but which way?
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, it's scary.
Did you get to travel a bit while you were over there as well?
I would go out for like like days on the weekend. So like I went to like a few of the towns, so Pamplona, and I did a lot of like beach trips. So we'd go to like San Sebastian and Bilbao, I'd like to go again this year and go to the museum. I think there's like a really famous museum. I'm not sure what the name is, but it's meant to be really good. There's a massive dog made of flowers outside. So I think that's something I'd like to do.
So when do you head back over there?
So I start competing on the 4th of May in Subic Bay, so that's the Philippines. And then I go up to China for another race, and then I will from China go back to Spain and then do some of their local races, and then yeah, I'm not sure when I'm coming home. I'm thinking at the moment it's July, but it might be earlier, might be later. We'll see.
Is it worth also staying for the Olympics and going and watching a few different sports as well?
I'm considering it. I spoke to my massage therapist actually yesterday, and she said that she's going to be over there. And I've got a friend from Guam who hopefully will qualify for the triathlon. So I'm hoping to go over and see her. So that's the end of July. So I think my last race is the end of July in Spain. It's an open water swim. So I think I'll either go over, watch the triathlon, and then come back, or do the swims and then go over. Depends on the dates of when everything is.
Yeah, are you gonna watch any of the other sports while you're there too?
I'd like to watch athletics. I think that's a big one that everyone wants to watch. But I'd also like to watch, I think, the marathon, because I think there's a lot of yeah, like, I just don't think that I can fully comprehend like how fast everyone's moving until like I kind of see it like live. Because yeah, like
Yeah.
you see the data and then you see them running and they look so like cruisy like on the run, and then you look at like 250 pace and you go, oh my god, like I can't even do that for a sprint.
I can't even ride that fast.
Yes.
It's crazy. I did read this week, they were talking about the triathlon in the Olympics and also the open water swim. They're going to do it in the river that goes down through the middle of Paris. And so they were saying how they were spending like not millions but billions on cleaning up this water. And they don't even know if it's going to be testable to the levels of humans being able to swim in the water, because people haven't swum in that water since like 1912 or something.
Oh wow. Yeah, I know last year the triathlon went ahead for the test event, but the open water swim like the week after got cancelled. Um,
Yeah,
and my friend Tom was saying that he went over to race that, and he was saying that the water quality, like when it rains, just it drops so like significantly that they just can't put people in there. Um, and because there's a lot of factories apparently that like go into the river, it's just not not a place where like anyone usually swims. So he
yeah.
said, yeah, like the cleanup would begin like literally like in December last year, and they like just have to, make sure that everything's being monitored going down there, which would be insane. Like the amount
They
of
were,
money that would go into that.
yeah. I read that they were having to put in like these massive overflow tanks that the water would have to kind of go through to be cleaned before it actually went into the river. And they're honestly really worried what they're going to do if the water doesn't actually test right for the triathlon. And I think also the open water swim, like they're like, oh, we don't know where else we're going to go.
Yeah. Could you imagine going over there? For me, especially, like if I was racing, running is not my like thing. I do triathlon because it's got the swim in it. I would hate to get over there and then be like, oh, by the way, you're doing a run bike run. I'd just be like, oh well, my
Yeah, I don't
strength
know
is
how to
like
pull
gone.
that
Great,
easy.
cool. Yeah,
Surely they can't do that.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, stranger things have happened. Like, it would be nice if they were like to the athletes. Oh, by the way, you're going to Tahiti now instead, like where the
Yeah.
surfing is. Like that'd be a nice change.
Or um, they could also go down to Nice because that's where the World Cup, well, the Ironman is run, like the World Champs. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess that's like a second option.
Yeah,
Because
I think the TikTok trend is like Gatorade water. Like they've got like blue Gatorade water down there because it's so like blue and like crystal clear, which would be nice. It wouldn't be a bad swim.
well, yeah, also that it's not a problem because it's an ocean swim anyway, so the water quality is fine already. So yeah, we'll
Yeah.
watch and see what happens there.
Yes.
The next one, but so at what point did you kind of turn professional? What point did it kind of be like, all right, I'm a pro triathlete now?
I'd say after my first Europe trip, I don't think I had a professional license going over there. And then I know the 2021 season, I decided to go to Malaysia and do we have like continental cups. So it was like an Asian continental cup, and I went over and raced that. So I needed a professional license for that. And I think with short course, there's like a pathway where if you're like a professional in one sport and you come over, if you're good enough, they'll give you like a professional license without having to meet like time criteria. And so I think that's how I got mine through my coach. He kind of did my application for me, and then I raced, and I think I was 12th maybe or 11th. I don't really know the actual number, but I did well enough where they were like, oh yeah, like you'll be able to keep your license and like do it. And then I raced probably my first like proper like what in Ironman and stuff you'd call like professional race in Noosa last year, but I got a flat tire, so I didn't get to finish that. So hopefully this year I'll be back doing that, because that's a very prestigious race and a very like top quality field usually.
Hang on, just go back to saying where you raced, and then it froze.
Oh, that's okay. I raced in Malaysia for a Continental Cup, and those are kind of the first step to kind of getting onto World Cups, and then from World Cups you can race like World Tri Series and qualify for like World Championships and Olympics and Commonwealth Games and whatnot. But my first like what triathletes would consider like professional race would be Noosa last year, but I got a flat tire, so I didn't get to finish that. But I swam really well, and rode 2 kilometers very well, and then I spent the last hour and a half of the race walking back with my bike to the start line.
Oh, how annoying. Will you be back in Australia in time to do it again this year?
Hopefully. So I will definitely get back from Spain with enough time, but it clashes with or kind of clashes, like the training block would clash with another race that I'm hoping to qualify for in November, which would be a World Cup in Japan. But Noosa just has like the publicity and like the name, and it's a time trial bike, and it's very good for swim bikers because, you know, swim out hard, get out hard on the bike, and then just hope that the run's good.
Yeah. So in terms of your bikes that you just mentioned, what kind of equipment do you take to Spain? Do you take both your road and your triathlon bike, or?
I just take my road bike because I don't do any like time trial races over there, any 70.3s. I did talk to my coach recently, and he thinks maybe at the end of this year I'll get to do a 70.3, but we'll see how my like feet and legs are holding up with like the run load. But yeah, there's no point in me taking the time trial bike over to Spain because all their local races are draft legal, and all the races that I'll travel to are all draft legal. So there's just extra baggage to pay for, which is not great.
Any tips for like packing up your bike as well? Do you get somebody to do it for you before you travel, or you do it yourself?
I do it myself. I've got a Cyclone bag, which is not ideal, but I haven't had any problems with it, but I just make sure that like my derailleur is packed like separately from the bike. My handlebars stay on, so that's no problem. But traveling to these events, like, you know, there's bike mechanics and coaches and athletes everywhere, so if I'm ever in any trouble with like getting things put on or off my bike, there's always someone there, and if not, there's usually some form of a bike shop somewhere that will be able to like fit the things. I always do take a spare derailleur just because they're the ones that usually they'll snap and they're difficult to come by. But yeah.
You go with soft or a hard?
I've got a soft case. I pack a lot of my clothes in it. Even though it's got like the soft padding and everything, I also then have like that extra layer of like, I think I put my kickboard like along my chain so that like, and if anything hits that, it's just the kickboard. And then like bags, like plastic bags, and all my clothes are just like kind of squashed in so that if it gets dropped or like it like a plane like moves and it moves, and then it's usually pretty well protected.
Yeah. What are you riding at the moment in terms of what branded bike?
I have a Pinarello Marvel, I believe. So it's super light, and it's very, very good around the corners. So I'd say that's probably my favorite part about it is I feel like quick going around corners, and like if I need to like quickly jump on a wheel that I've dropped or someone's come past me, it's very easy for me to like maneuver. But my time trial bike is a Rebel something, I can't quite remember. But it's also a very good quality bike. I do like it. It is not as easy to maneuver, just given the fact that it is a time trial bike. It's very heavy. So I think last year when I went from the road bike to the time trial bike, as soon as I got back on my road bike, I was so happy. I thought, oh my goodness, yay, like now I can come around
Yeah.
these corners and feel safe.
How did you go to the different time? I'm about to buy a time trial bike. I don't know which way I'm going to go yet, but how did you find the difference in transitioning over to, obviously it's a completely different seating setup?
Yeah, I got it professionally fitted. So I think that it's like the seat height is slightly different, just because I'm in a slightly different position.
And obviously
But
the leaning over with the bars and stuff, how did you get over the difference but just from a standard bike to being in that kind of bent over with your arms in front?
yeah, it took a lot of getting used to, but I think I did like 2 or 3 rides where I was literally just on the like, I'm not sure what they're called on this, but like the sitting upright, not in the TT bars. So that could be on the brakes, because I just didn't really have like a handle on like how fast or how slow it was going to brake. And also the balance, like the balance was a big thing. So once I like kind of like learnt what the bike like felt like, I started slowly like coming down into like the TT bars, but only on straight roads. And I like used to see people like, you know, descend on the TT bars, and I thought I could never do that. Like I'm petrified. But eventually I got there. I only had like 4 or 5 weeks, I think, on it before Noosa. So I was really like riding it every single day. I know a lot of people ride like both. But I was on the TT all the time. And then by the time I got used to it, there's a particular ride that we have in Brisbane from our airport. And there is a long straight where if there's like a tailwind, you're like, it's so fast. So it's like smooth road. And there was no flights coming in that day, so I got out there and I saw, oh, this is going to be like the best ride that I've ever done. And I think I was averaging like 46 or 47 kilometers per hour. And it like I was using like 50 watts, like it was so easy.
Wow.
And I was on the bars, and I thought, oh, this is why people say that they love their TTs, because at that point I didn't like it, and then I kind of had that, and I thought, yeah, this is nice.
So in terms of sponsors, who are you sponsored by at the moment, and are they helping you go to Spain as well?
So I currently have got a wetsuit sponsor, Valair. He's been very good. So the guy who owns Valair, he knows my coach my coach also coached a lot of other swimmers turned triathletes. So I work a lot with him, and he helps me out a lot with like products, so I don't have to spend like a lot of money on the products that I like need to be able to compete. So that definitely helps. Brooks, I'm currently an ambassador for, so that's another expense, because shoes are so expensive,
Yeah.
especially like top quality shoes, and you go through them so quick.
Mhm.
And then I've got I recently just got my first set of like race wheels through Carbon Mafia, and that I got a very good deal on those, which has been super helpful, because they're another expense, which like I guess you don't really need, but it definitely helps to have like, you know, good quality wheels when you're racing at such a high level.
I hate
And
the sound
then
of those when when you're like racing and somebody comes up behind you with carbon wheels, it's like such an annoying sound, but it sounds like when you're on them, they go so much faster.
Yeah, they roll very well. Like these ones are like I didn't notice the difference too much because I hadn't spent too much time on it because I didn't get much time on them in Noosa. But the road bike on the weekend, like just it was so smooth to like ride. So that was, yeah, very nice. And then, yeah, my last sort of sponsors, I'm an ambassador for a cycling brand called Bowie. And so it's a very new cycling brand. And the girl who has kind of been the designer of all the clothes has been very good with like designing the nicks. So I just find that the nicks that she gives me are so comfortable. Like they're just, like, I don't know what it is, like what she's done, but they're very comfortable and they don't give me any sort of like saddle sores or anything like that. And that's another expense that I'm very grateful that I don't really have to like put much into because it's so expensive to like buy all the kit because you've got three different sets of sports and every sport needs something different. Like you can't, yeah.
Like, triathlon is such an expensive sport.
Yes.
I'm running like a triathlon series on the side at the moment to kind of help people get into the sport and teamed up with two of my friends. It's called the Try Me series. And we just did an episode the other week on talking about all the equipment that you need just to start. And we were like, oh my God, this is a
Yeah.
lot more than we always thought. And then like talking about
Yeah.
you can even add on to that equipment before you go into like longer distance races. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I went from swimming where there was you bought like a pair of swimmers and they were like $300 and I thought, yeah, that's so expensive. And then I came into this and I was like, oh my God, what? Like the bike is like 6 grand? And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but like it's like a super good deal and it's super cheap compared to like this other one. I thought, oh my God, how am I gonna do this?
Yeah. And so moving forward after Spain, what's the goal? Do you want to go into longer distance like a 70.3 or try for the T100 series?
I would love to, as I get older, like go into the longer distances just because I think that's where my strength is like endurance. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm open to anything. I think everyone always talks about like Olympics and Commonwealth Games and stuff, but like financially, like the T100 series is doing such a good job at making like a sport like a profession. Um, and same with Ironman, like T100's been good this year, but it just kind of forces Ironman and the challenge series to kind of grow and
Yeah.
offer more for their athletes because otherwise everyone's just gonna start doing this T100 PTO sort of series. So yeah, I think it would be very interesting to see what happens because I don't think short course can continue the way that it's going with like underpaying athletes and not giving enough finances to their professionals when there's all this other sort of stuff going on because the 100-kilometer race is you're still able to do it when you're training for an Olympic distance. It's not that big of a jump. Whereas Ironman kind of had that like gap
More.
between short course and Ironman where you couldn't do both. So I think it's very good for the sport.
Yeah, it's like a happy medium where you find a lot of athletes who are either really good at like a 70.3 distance or like an Olympic. And it's kind of the T100 has come in and put that middle barrier that was always kind of needed. But yeah, as we talk, this weekend
Yes.
is the weekend of the T100 Singapore. So be exciting to see what
Yes.
comes out
Yes.
there. A lot of the athletes do complain about the heat there.
Yes, I've been seeing that. That's literally been my entire Instagram has been like, oh, it's so hot or it's so humid or I went for a run and it
Yeah,
looks like it's been raining and I think, oh my goodness me.
literally. When I was in Singapore last, it was like early 2019, but I went for a run there and I ran so well, but you come back like dripping wet. Like even if you do, I think I might
Yeah,
have only done like
wow.
a 5K or something, but just the humidity was so hot.
Yeah, I don't love the heat, just because I sometimes get caught up on like the pace that I'm running. But yeah, I think it'll be good to see how everyone goes, especially like there's a lot of British guys racing, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle it.
That's, Singapore is normally a bit of a race between Lucy, Charles Barclay, and Ash Gentle, because Ash has been training obviously in the weather all summer. But yeah, Lucy leading out and being one of the best athletes at the moment.
Yeah, I'm excited. I love watching swim bikers like go up against like bike runners. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be a very good race. I think Ashley's obviously a very strong athlete, and I don't know whether they raced each other last year in PTO. Um, but obviously
I
Lucy is in
yeah.
phenomenal form.
I know Ash took out Singapore last year, but I think last year Lucy might have been trying for full distance Ironman so she could take out Kona. So yeah, can't remember off the top of
Yes.
my head if they did
So
race.
yeah, me neither. Maybe she did, and because I know that there was a race that she did where a Spanish girl, Sarah something or other, I can't remember her name, apologies,
Yeah,
but she like came out of the water in front of her and everyone was just like so shocked. But she was probably, I think Lucy was in a very like tough training block, obviously for Kona, which worked very
yeah.
well. But she's just a very tough athlete. So I think if she's far enough in front, I think it'll be very difficult for Ash to kind of close the gap. But she's also very tough minded as well. So I think it'll be a good race, hopefully, between the girls.
I think the only thing that will separate the two of them is Ash has come out of a hot weather training set, whereas Lucy's been training in England, where she's come out of winter. I think that's the only big thing that will separate them.
Yeah, I think so too.
So, one last thing I forgot to ask you: what's your go-to like race nutrition, or when you're doing a longer ride and stuff? What's your go-to gels and?
Um, my nutritionist will hate me for saying this because she told me specifically don't do this, but I like to have like a chocolate bar and Sprite like at like a gas station, which is fine if like I'm also having like other things like on the ride, but it definitely doesn't help my recovery, but it does help me get through the ride. The carbs are great.
Well,
The
it's the
yeah,
carbs and the sugar
protein
that you need. So what are you complaining about?
exactly. I said the chocolate's there for taste, the Sprite's there for the nutrition. So like it's fine. And she was like, "Yeah, but like how are you going to recover like the next session after that?" And I thought, "Yeah, fair enough." So now it's like a bit more of that's okay on the ride, but then afterwards it's a chocolate milk or a protein something or other to get home and then I'll have lunch. But yes, not surviving the whole ride. I like to plan my rides to be like 60% done, 70% done, and then I stop, have like a Sprite from like one of those small like cans. Like I love that size. I just think it's like perfect. And then like yeah, just milk chocolate bar. I love it. It's like yeah, something that I will do like at least for 3 of my rides, if not all of them.
That's so good. So in terms of when you're racing, you're not really bothering about too much nutrition because they're less than 90-minute races, right?
Yeah, like she said, my nutritionist said to me that if I'm gonna have anything in the sprint races, like it'll be like maybe a gel, if not like just sipping on like the Powerade and stuff, because it's not gonna be super detrimental to my run. But I definitely make sure like the day before my race, even if it is only a sprint and not an Olympic, I like to have a lot of like carbs, a lot of like soft drinks and juices and stuff, just so that I'm like super hydrated and I don't end up like I think cramping and struggling on the run because I haven't had enough water in the lead up, because that's probably my biggest downfall is not drinking enough water.
Yeah, I feel you there. The next part is name a sliding door moment in your life where you've kind of turned left or right and it's changed kind of your progression of your future.
I'd say probably when I moved from my first swim club to Nudgee, only because there's not a lot of swim coaches that would have during COVID. David like spent a lot of time kind of like looking into triathlon and like kind of learning how to like coach running and swimming at the same time, for not just for me, for all of his athletes, because he didn't want anyone to get injured. And I think that him kind of investing in that, even though it probably wasn't going to benefit him too much in the long term, was really like helpful. And he was kind of the one that like he encouraged me to like find a triathlon coach, and he was the one that kind of said, oh, swimming's like quite saturated, there's a lot of good swimmers, there's a like big opening and for opportunities in triathlon. So he really encouraged me to kind of give it a go, rather than just like, you know, dabble with the idea of it. So I'd say it was definitely definitely moving to nudgy.
Yeah. It's crazy how something so simple like that can really change everything, really.
Yes, because I would have had no idea like that I'd be doing triathlon in like 2018, 2019. I was like dead set on swimming. But yeah, like it's just been crazy how like it's all changed. And I think even now, like there's no reason why I couldn't go back to swimming and kind of see how much more I can improve on that. But yeah, at the moment, definitely enjoying the like travel aspect of like triathlon.
Yeah. God, that's a dream. I honestly wish I could take a 6-month work break and come and race with you.
Well, I still work online, so my mum my mum will be sending me emails while I'm overseas, being like, "Can you please do this? Can you do that?" And I'll be like, "Hey, mum, yes, sure, please
Do you
help
do
me
like
pay for my
admin work
stuff."
as well for them?
Yeah, so a lot of they run a like merchandise business, so they like have a lot of like, you know, quotes, invoice, like getting things shipped from one place to another. So I kind of help out with that and talking to customers and keeping them updated, which is like super good because I get to kind of do that around training. So sometimes like fixing things up, I'll just do at night because it doesn't really involve anyone else, and then like get quotes and invoices done up and sent out to people, which is always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. One day. Maybe I'll just come overseas for a race or
We'll
two and
see.
have a break. So, what are you consuming at the moment in terms of podcast, TV show, books?
At the moment, I'd say my uh, podcast that I'm listening to would be Triathlon Mockery, only because it's stuff that I can understand, like what's going on, and I don't have to think too much about it. So the guys that run that are professional triathletes themselves, so they obviously just get on and talk a lot about triathlon, but they also have a lot of like banter and stuff, which is like cool to kind of like I guess be a part of. So it feels like I think what you said um earlier before we started this, which is like you feel like you're talking to your friends and you're not having to like
Yeah.
use any energy to like contribute to the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes it podcasting's so fun in that way though. It's crazy who you kind of chat to and you just start chatting and it's super fun.
Yeah, it's been good. I like the fact that they uh they're also on different parts of the world, so they like I think they probably appreciate it as well, getting to like having to chat like weekly to kind of like catch up on like what each other's been doing, and they do like I think highs and lows of the week, and their lows can be like
Yeah.
insane, but their highs can also be like super funny. So I think that their humor is kind of it's good to see as well because they're like super professional and super high level with their sport, but they're like just so easygoing and like able to have a laugh.
So good. When you find good podcasts like that, it's good to keep up with them.
Yeah, they haven't posted for a while, so I'm like, oh, like they did post last week, but they haven't posted their recap for Oceanside, and I'm like, I need something to listen to on my run tomorrow, so where is it?
Well, you have to catch up on the Wellness League pod instead.
Yeah, literally. I do enjoy listening to the different athletes. The triathletes one's cool because I often like I think Emma Quinn was on, and I was like, I follow her on Instagram, and so I was like, I'm gonna listen to that one and see what she has to say as well.
She was super interesting. I was saying to the guest that I'm interviewing tomorrow, it's also another triathlete from Queensland. And I was like, what is with the Queensland water? It literally produces so many good triathletes. And I just seem to interview them all.
Yeah, it's good. We're very like very lucky because I don't know what the other states are like. I don't know what your state's like, but we've got like a Queensland Tri Series, and I think there's like 8 or 9 races throughout the season. So you often go and you see all these different people, and they all like stop and say hi and everything. So it's a nice community. It's very different from the swimming community, which is quite exclusive to like competitive swimmers. But triathlon, like I love because you just kind of get to see people from like all walks of life turn up and like do their best. So it's very nice. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. We have a similar series here. I don't think it's as I don't want to say as professional as like a setup that you have in Queensland, but it's pretty good. Only because I had the race
Yeah.
director on the podcast, so I can't say it.
Oh, I'm sure it's great.
No, it is pretty good. I am just saying that because I haven't raced in the series for about, I think since COVID, I've only done a couple of races, and then kind of going back. I've been training the whole time, but yeah, this is the year to train for the half Ironman, so I'm actually properly training.
Yeah, good. I think it would be good. I think I really enjoy the long stuff once you get into a rhythm, but some days it's just so much. It's so full on.
Crazy. So on your social media, what's like a common theme that you see a lot of?
Just in general, like the like Discover page.
Yeah.
I get a lot of like funny Strava things. So there's one particular girl, I actually don't know her username, but she recently posted something where she was talking about like going out hunting for her friends like QOMs and stuff, so that her friend gets an email to say like, oh, Laura took your QOM or your crown or whatever. And I thought, oh my god, that's like literally something that I have done myself. But then I see a lot of dogs. So a lot of dogs kind of doing funny things just in general, which I think is very, very nice. It's a nice little laugh to have because they're very innocent little creatures.
Yeah. On the Strava thing, in mine at the moment, keeps coming up saying Strava's the new dating app.
Oh my god, I was literally just talking about this morning at training. So I was saying like I was explaining how like
Honestly,
run
it's
clubs
so
have
much
become
better.
like the yeah, literally like the run club that I see on my like my run route is like it's suddenly got like 13,000 followers on Instagram or something like crazy like that, and like they're all saying like, oh, come down, and if you come down we'll set you up with like a man or we'll set you up with a girl. And like it's like crazy because like me personally being an athlete, like I would never go to like a run club and be like today's the day that I'm gonna meet like my future partner, and like they're all turning up like so sweaty, like just looking good, and I'm like, good on you, like nice active lifestyle, good.
Yeah, but like, don't you think of that? Well, if you do find somebody at the run club, at least you know they're fit and healthy.
That's true. Someone did say that. Someone did say, oh, but like, could you imagine being like a super active like runner, and then you meet someone like online and they're like, oh yeah, I run, and then you find out they run like 1 kilometer every like 2 weeks, and you're like, oh, okay, cool.
Or they say that they run to the bloody pantry instead.
Yes.
Yeah, I was saying to my friend, we send each other those memes of the running club. We like train in like a triathlon club, and we're like, oh, imagine if we could get like a whole lot of hot guys to join up that are single, and then make it a dating place, so we could just make the club bigger at the same time.
You could set up like pay $5 and we'll like do like an interview with you so that people can like it online and people can like say, oh yeah, I'd love to meet her. Come on down for a run.
Well, we have like a messenger group, and where I'm like always look through to see who is single when they join.
Oh my goodness, yeah, like that's kind of funny. I appreciate
Dating as an athlete,
that.
you need to dating as a triathlete.
Yeah.
It's a complicated field. So
I think I think
what was
I
that?
think
Sorry.
that sorry, I think that I appreciate the girls on my Instagram who like are training for like a marathon or an Ironman, and their partners like always on the bike and like giving like gels and stuff. I think that's
Yes.
cute. I can appreciate that.
That is my dream to have somebody there, or even like, yeah, just to have them alongside, ready to be like your aid station.
Yeah, that's so nice. I don't necessarily need that with my little long run of 8 kilometers, but that's a future.
Yeah, it must be nice. So a couple of fun questions before we get to the extra fun part. So alongside swing people, I saw on your Instagram that you've swum alongside Ariane Titmus. Who's the most competitive?
I'd say that's definitely obviously a very recent one. I was training with Emma McKeon for a while. I think honestly, I think in general, the last race that I did in 2021 was Olympic trials, and I think in that race, I'm not sure how well you know swimmers, but in that race there was Tamsin Cook, Ariane Titmus, Kia Melverton, Madeline Goff, Moesha Johnson. Um, I am missing someone, and I don't love that I'm missing them. But there was another girl who's also now on the Australian team, and then myself and another girl called Dallas Rogers, and like I think I was 7th or 8th in that race, and it was like phenomenal. Like I swam a 4:08 in that race and I got 8th. So like I think the quality of that field was just incredible, and it was such a like cool thing to kind of be a part of, like where like that race was um good enough to be like a like final or a semi-final at the Olympics. So that was, yeah, like super humbling, but also you kind of sit there and you kind of think, oh, if I had have been born like 4 years later, or if I had have been born like 4 years earlier, I could have like had a much easier run. But it's definitely super cool to be able to like say, oh, like how come you like missed out? And you can be like, oh, well, the world record holder was in my race.
That's crazy. Like, yeah, I probably knew three-quarters of the names that you said there as well. So, yeah,
Yeah,
pretty intense that you were racing alongside girls that good.
yeah. And like I think growing up it was super cool to have uh um like Jess Ashwood and like Emma, and I think Emma's brother David, which he'll probably hate me for saying that. So David McKeon, and getting to kind of talk to them and like see how they approached training and racing. I think it probably set me up for like really good habits later in life.
Are you
Yeah,
still in
which
contact
I
with any of these
appreciate.
guys?
And like every now and again, I'm honestly so hopeless with like my messaging people back and like talking to people. But if I see them around and stuff, like yeah, we'll chat and like say hi and like ask each other how everyone's going, which is nice.
You have to
Yeah,
send them your episode of
I'll
the
have to
the
make sure
Wellness
that
Link pod and ask if they want to come on.
I'll have to make sure that I share it and be like, oh, by the way, guys, I mentioned all of you guys, please
And
help
if
you
they
out.
want their time to come back and say anything about you, they're welcome to come on.
Yeah, literally. I think there'll be a few triathletes that I'll probably be able to like help. The swimmers, um, yeah, the swimmers also. I think there'll be a few that would love to talk, because you don't often get this opportunity to like talk to people about like
Yeah.
sport, because you kind of always feel like everyone wants you to like be quiet and like talk about something else, because you know they don't really get it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm scouting for season 3 at the moment, so send your friends my way.
Yeah, I'll let them know.
All right, let's get on to the fun
Yeah.
stuff now. So it's called 5 Fast Questions. And so the numbers are in between 1 and number 20. So you ask the number, and it's the first thing that comes to your mind in terms of the question. So there's no time to think, because that's when
Okay.
you get the
Yes.
best answers. So your first number.
3.
All right, number 3 is if you could go back to a month in your life, when, where, and why.
I would probably go back to during COVID, because I just found that like it it was rough, like, like not being able to do anything and not being able to see your family and everything like that. But I think that there's a lot of lessons that were kind of you had to take. So a lot of gratitude and also a lot of like, oh yeah, like this life is not as serious as like what we think it is. Like, all of a sudden these
Mm.
things like work and like going to the shops and stuff were just like taken away from you and you weren't able to do anything about it and you just kind of had to sit there and like I
It
was
became
living
like a
with
full
mum, dad,
outing.
and my sister. Yeah,
Yeah, it
like
became a
we'd be
full
like, okay,
outing. I
who's going to go to the
literally
shops today?
Yes, we used to fight over it. We're like, Mum was like, "Oh, somebody needs to go to the shops," and she was like a nurse at the time, so she was being allowed to get out the house, and we're like, "Nah, one of us are going because you've
Yeah.
already been out for the day." So
Yeah, I
crazy.
thought it
I
was
was living back at
insane.
home in COVID too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how we survived because at the moment, I think my sister, she has like forgotten that she hasn't like that during COVID, like how close she lived to everyone because she gets so cranky at me all the time. And I'm like, I don't remember you being this cranky when we were like forced to like stay with each other 24/7. But yeah, goodness me.
Yeah. I feel your pain. Yeah. All right, next number.
12.
Okay, number 12 is your favorite actor or actress and why?
I want to say Cara Delevingne, but I think that that's just because I've seen her like on TikTok at the moment trending because of some GTA sounds that she did like a while ago. But she's funny, like she's good quality outside. I know people have like mixed opinions about her acting and stuff, but she's good quality outside of the like acting because I just think that she doesn't take herself very seriously, even though she definitely could because she's obviously a model and like quite famous, but she's very interesting compared to a lot of other actors and
So good.
actresses that you see out in the wild.
Yeah. What's your next number?
16.
Okay, number 16. If you won the lottery, so like a big sum of money, what's three things that you're spending it on?
Oh, I'd like to say a house. I would like to. It's always like a dream of mine to like donate something to someone like that really needs it. Which would
Yeah.
be nice to be able to do, but I am also struggling financially as well, so I haven't been able to do that yet. I'd like to buy a house and like I'd like, buy my parents and my family like homes. And then I would like to be able to travel like without having to kind of think about like how I'm going to get stuff there and what I'm going to do for money when I get over there. That would be really nice.
Yeah.
A nice feeling to not have to be at the airport stressing about like, oh, is my like bags like over or am I going to be able to choose my bikes to take over? Like, how am I going to do that?
So pretty much a private jet and a few houses around the world.
Ideally, not too much.
And when you need that house or all the houses designed, let me know.
Perfect. Yeah, great. Cool.
Got you sorted. All right, next number.
Yeah. 9.
Okay, number 9 is your spirit animal.
Oh, I do really like dogs. I appreciate, so my dog, my family dog is a Jack Russell and he's so strange, but like so smart, like just very like I appreciate like his like attitude towards life. It's very much like, oh, I didn't really want to do that today, so I'm not gonna do that. Like I know you've asked me to like get down, I'm not doing that. And so I do appreciate that. I wish I could be a bit more like that, but yeah. I
My
appreciate dogs. I
parents'
like
dog
their
is a Jack Russell as well. So my parents have a Jack Russell. And so when I
really.
take my sausage dog over there, she like bosses her around.
Oh wow.
It's so funny. So now my sausage dog is like 2. Last night I was at my parents
Yeah.
and they were like having this little play fight and my dog like literally put a paw up and like pushed her off.
You're like, no, not today, thanks.
She
All
was
right.
like, all right,
That's
and
funny.
last number.
14.
All right, number 14. If you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
I'd probably say Like, I'd say the biggest lesson that I learned with with the sport thing is like don't take it too seriously. So I'd probably say that a bit younger, because I have always competed my best when it's not been the be all and end all, which is something that I don't think you learn until you're older. Because when you're 15, it feels like if you swim bad, like the world's gonna end. But yeah, it's not that big deal. You'll get out of it. You'll be fine. And yeah. I don't think that younger me would believe that I'd be doing triathlon instead of swimming. So I think that'd always be an interesting conversation to have.
So where can everybody find you on social media and follow you for your races throughout the rest of 2024?
So my favorite platform is Instagram, which is Mikayla Messer, and it's a triathlete. A triathlete is in my my bio or whatever. I do like TikTok. My sister has currently got like 600 more followers than me on TikTok, so I'd like to get some more followers on that. And then I also have a Facebook page, which my Facebook page is where I probably put a lot of my post race thoughts, more than Instagram. Instagram's for like the funny highlights and whatnot for me.
I'll tag them all in the show notes anyway, but thank you so much for your time today. It's such an interesting pod talking about everything from swimming to triathlon, and looking forward to see where you go in the future. Be following along.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Maybe next time that I come on, it'll be more about triathlon and less about swimming. Because I haven't been in the sport for very long, so I'm excited to learn a lot more about it.
That's so good. Yeah. When you are on, maybe after your 70.3, we'll check in again and compare our races.
Yeah, compare the first 70.3 thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks heaps. And I'll tag everything in the show notes so everybody can come and follow you along.
Amazing. Thank you.
So good. Thank you. How insane, hey? From the swimming scene, and how amazing it is being that great a swimmer in Australia, in that overpopulated talent that we just have within Australia. But how cool. COVID changed her type and style of training and brought triathlon in. Now taking Mikayla as far as Europe to compete. Now that is cool. A big thank you for Live and Breathe for sponsoring this podcast. I've been testing out their running shorts, and believe it or not, they are amazing. I have had so many problems with chafing with shorts, and especially with running. And ever since I've got my Live and Breathe shorts, I've never had a problem. So go and buy yourself a pair at TWLPOD15. That will also be in the show notes. That's Live and Breathe. You know what? While you're there, why don't you go and check out the Try Me series this Friday? We will be talking all things cycling, how to get started and how to make the cycling the best part of your race. But don't forget, go and check out the swimming episode and the many other episodes on the Try Me series. Also there for a good laugh. Well, thank you for listening today. Much appreciate you staying around. Hope you enjoyed this pod. Please share it with a friend. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and don't forget to go and follow us on all of our social media pages at the Wellness League Pod. And if you want more of me, at discovering_ET. And come back next week and listen to some more. Have a wonderful day. Have the best week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.